Hey folks, Levi here once again. Hope you enjoyed my review of TMT, Teenage Mutant Turtles 2007 CGI animated movie. If y'all want to know my thoughts on that, that's on my channel right now. And guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope y'all still remember it's the mask profile picture. I'm not going to keep on showing y'all, but you should know if you're subscribed. And again, please share my channel with your friends and family, co-workers. I appreciate it, a lot. And this is another revisit review today. And of course, it's a Spider-Man review. Now I have reviewed the first two movies. The first two Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. Now I remember when 2000 there was superhero movies. 2000 there were super movie that came out 2000 to 2009. And the next is a revisit review. I should say epic rant on Spider-Man 3. Yeah, I rewatched this to prepare for this review, and I used to like this movie. I remember Spider-Man 2 was a huge hit. I loved Spider-Man 2. It's one of the best sequels ever made. It's one of the best superhero films ever made, in my opinion. You know, it's one of the best. It's a great sequel. Love Spider-Man 2. And Spider-Man 3, when this came out, I remember the trailer was epic. The trailer was awesome. I remember the commercials and stuff, for this movie being really hyped, because we were going to get a black suit, we were going to get Venom, we were going to get Sandman, New Goblin. I think they're trying to make it bigger and better. And that was the movie's downfall, I think. You know, say what you will about the Amazing Spider-Man films, but I think I prefer those over this. Yes. And even the Tom Holland ones. Spider-Man No Way Home, believe me, it has its issues, but I'd rather still watch that over this. But that's just me personally, because that film didn't piss me off enough like this fucking film did. Spider Man 3, yeah, it pissed me off. Yeah, you know, honestly, more thinking about it, I would say this is the worst Spider Man film, in my personal opinion, yeah. And I know some of you out there, you're fans of Spider Man 3, and hey, cool, to each his own. But to me, Spider Man 1 and Spider Man 2 were much better movies, especially Spider Man 2. And when you get this, no, I don't blame Sam Raimi on this. Part of it, I blame him. Partially blame Sony on him, but I mostly blame Sony. I think it's both their faults. Because the thing when Spider-Man 2 came out, they really wanted to make a big, huge movie, and I think Sony was just saying dollars because it was a time like I said, Spider-Man 2 made money. Spider-Man 2 was a hit. And there were other superhero movies at the time that Spider-Man 2, 2005, and 6 you had some superhero movies that were making money at the box office. So I think they were trying to make it bigger and better. I think Sony at this time, this is when they started to ruin Spider-Man, or started to, you know, get involved in, studio interference. Yes, you can say this has that in there. And the Amazing Spider-Man films do too, but I can get entertainment out of those, despite the issues. Those movies have issues too. I'm not saying they're perfect movies, but I can get entertainment out of this. Some of this I can get entertainment out of, I'll admit, but the rest of this film does piss me off. But anyway, I'll get to the production Spider-Man 3, talk about it and everything. And this is the third and final installment in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. Sorry to say, I don't think we're ever going to get Spider-Man 4. I hope not. I'm not seeing it. But for the production, in March 2004, Spider-Man 2 being released in the comic coming June, Sony announced that Spider-Man 3 was already in development for release in summer 2007. Now the cast like Tobey Maguire, Chris Dunst, James Franco, Rosemary Harris, J.K. Simmons, uh, the late Bill Nunn, and some of the other actors. I think they all signed on to do two more movies after the first Spider-Man movie. So that's why Toby and them, all of them, had to be in this movie. Because I believe they were under contract to be in this film. They had to. They had no choice, really. They would have got sued if they didn't, want to be in the film. But by the release of Spider-Man 2, a release date for Spider-Man 3 had been set for May 2nd, 2007, before production on a sequel had begun. The date was later changed to May 4th, 2007. In January 2005, Sony Pictures had completed a seven-figure deal with screenwriter Elvin Snersnot, who had penned Spider-Man 2 script Spider-Man 3, with an option to script a fourth film. Immediately after Spider-Man 2's release, Ivan Raymond read a treatment over 2 months. With Samurai decided to use the film to support Peter learning that he's not a senseless vigilante and that there also can be humanity those he considers criminals. Harry Osborn was brought back because Raimi wanted to conclude his storyline. Raimi felt that Harry would not follow his father's legacy, but instead somewhere between. Sandman was introduced as an antagonist, as Raimi found him a visually fascinating character. While Sandman is a pretty petty criminal of the comics, screenwriters created a background of the character being Uncle Ben's killer to increase Peter's guilt over his death. Yeah, I have an issue with that, but more later. And challenge is simply precision of the event. Overall, Raimi described the film as being about Peter, Mary, Jane, Harry, and the Sandman, with Peter's journey beginning one of forgiveness. Raimi wanted another villain, and Ben Kingsley was involved, play the Vulture. That would have been awesome, but before the character was cut. Vulture considered, but you do see Vulture played by Michael Keaton in Spider-Man Homecoming. I know the name of it. Sorry, Spider-Man Homecoming. Producer Avi Arvord, I could blame him too, because he convinced Raimi to include Venom. So I blame Avi Arvord too. Of course, a character whose lack of humanity had intentionally been criticized by Sam Raimi, who Sam Raimi was not a fan of the character of Venom. I don't understand why. I mean, that's fine. But you can clearly tell what they did with Venom in this movie. He did not give a crap to have Venom in this movie. It was Avi Arvord and probably also uh, Sony that pushed that as well. They, minor role. They felt the series had relied too much on Raimi's personal favorite Spider-Man villains, which I can somewhat understand now. Not characters that Marvel fans were actually interested in. So Raimi included Venom to please them. I'm like, which is the thing, Raimi. This is your big mistake. You do not add in a character to please fans. It just doesn't work like that. And even began to appreciate the character himself. The film's version of the characters in Venom stories. Edward Brock Jr., him part of Venom, Eddie Brock, serves as a mirror to Peter Parker, were both characters having similar jobs and romantic interests, which you didn't need that. Brock's actions as a journalist in Spider-Man 3 also represent themes of paparazzi and tabloid journalism. The producers also suggest adding rival love interest Gwen Stacy, filling another girl type that Remy had created. With so many additions, Sergeant soon find his script so complex that he considered splitting it into two films, but abandoned the idea when he could not create a successful in comics. This is the big problem with this film. Camera crew spent 2 weeks from November 5th to 18th to film sequences that would involve intense visual effects so Sony Pictures management could begin work on the shots early in the project. The same steps have been taken for Spider-Man 2 to begin producing visual effects sequences for Doc Ock, Dr. Octopus. Principal photography for filming began on January 16, 2006 and wrapped in July 2006 after 100 days of filming. The team filmed in Los Angeles until May 19th, 2006. In spring 2006, location manager Peter Monroe brought camera to Cleveland, Ohio. I'm sorry, I can't say that name right. They shot the battle between Spider-Man and Sandman in the armored car that was shot in Cleveland. Afterwards, the team moved to Manhattan, where filming took place at a location including One Chase Manhattan Plaza. Shooting places strain on Raimi. The shooting of this movie places strain on Raimi, who often had to move between several units to complete the picture. So I guess he was a bit under pressure too from the studio. From some sort of Bill Pope as symbiote Spider-Man Venom, New Goblin were costumed in black during fight scenes taking place at night. For the breakdance scene, Maguire at first did not want to dance. Oh, I don't want to talk about that. After August picks up were conducted Raimi's to film more action scenes. Visual effects. I do like the visual effects for this movie. Like you see Spider-Man throwing a punch through the chest of Sandman. That was a good special effect. That's one of the highlights of the movies is the special effects. Some of the CGI is good. Not always good, but some of it is good. Well, close-up shots, I mean, of CGI. Visual effects supervisor Derek colleague Scott Tuduk used it. Uh, the Venom suit, yeah, which I don't like Venom in here. I'm sorry. Yeah, to understand the effects of sand for Sandman, experiments were done with 12 types of sand, such as splashing, launching it, and stuntmen, and pouring it over ledges. The results were mimicked only to create the visual effects for Sandman. I think for Thomas Hayden Church, they had to like kind of put like some kind of sandish on his body. They had to rub it on his body. I don't know, folks. I wasn't there. You can probably see behind the scenes. For scenes involving visual effects, Thomas Hayden Church was superimposed into the screen, was computer generated when applied. It's, with sand as possible hazard scenes that buried actors, ground up corn hobs were used, and of course they used CGI sand. In fight where Spider-Man punched Sam's chest, martial artist Baxter Humby took Tobey Maguire's place in filming that scene. Humby was right hand was at birth, helped deliver the effective punching through Sam's chest. Whereas the symbiote suit wore in the comics, Spider-Man was plain black affair with a large white spider on the front and back. The design was changed for the film to become a black version of Spider-Man's traditional costume. As a consequence, the suit Topher Grace wore, as Venom also wore the webbing suit. It's the Spider-Man suit, but twisted and mangled. The CGI models made him enemy separate. When animation Venom himself animated footage of big cats such as lions and cheetahs for the characters' movements. To lead the scenes, Topher Grace said that despite liking how the film turned out, he expressed interest in having the rest of his scenes, as both Eddie and Venom were restored from day. Later added, you know what? Spider 3.5 or however they release it, you know, with the extra scenes. Which I don't really care because I think Topher Grace, you suck. as a character. And I do another thing. I do know that I think there was a cure for Marco's daughter, but they don't really go on that. And a bit of a death scene for Venom. I think there was like a scene cut out where I guess Spider-Man 3 had a lot of scenes cut out of it because they try to add so much in this movie, they probably had to cut out of it just for the running time. Uh, where he builds like a sandcastle for his daughter for Spider-Man 3. Danny Elfman, who had composed the music for the first two films, which I'm not big on his music score. Uh, he has some issues, difficulties working with Raimi on the second film. It was a miserable experience. He said, even though he did come back to work with him again on, I think on Oz the Great and Powerful. So I guess they, put their differences aside. I guess they got along. You know, became good friends. I guess. And he worked with him on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Danny did the music for that. Christopher Young did the music. Elfman chose to work with the 2006 live-action remake of Charles Webb. A few years later, he ran out of room to compose the score for the Oscar Great and Powerful. According to Young, Sandman's theme uses saxophones, two clarinets, two bassoons. I'm not knowing much of the music. Young described Venom's theme as vicious on that one there, that he's the devil personified. His theme is much more demonic sounding, which it is. Venom's theme uses 8 French horns. Raimi approved the new themes during the first performance, but rejected the music The Birth of Sandman, finding it too monstrous and not tragic enough. Young had to recompose it, but much of his score at a later stage. Ultimately, new themes were for the love story, Aunt May and Mary Jane were dropped, which were fine. And for the I can't barely even speak. Sorry, the phone just helps me in my review. For the marketing, you had, like I said, the trailer. If y'all remember that trailer, the trailer was big and exciting, epic music. But they make Sandman sound like the T Rex from Jurassic Park almost, which I don't know. The sound they gave him. But the first trailer was released in theaters on November 17th, 2006. I remember the trailer. I don't know if I remember seeing any films in 2006, but I remember seeing this trailer though in the theater and being surprised by it. And after seeing it, like I said, I saw Spider-Man 2 twice in theaters, loved it, and yeah, got it on DVD, and I was like, oh yeah, Spider-Man 3 finally. So you can imagine I was really anticipated for the movie at the time. A lot of people were. This was a big deal when this movie came. This was like Batman '89 marketing type thing. But you had commercials. They had they Burger King Burger King gave out toys for the movie, so it was a big deal. It was toys for the film. Yeah, you had cheese nip, Spider-Man cheese nips. Yeah, for this movie. I think he might have been on cereal boxes too. I don't remember. And then you had the Spider-Man 3 web blasters. Yeah, yeah. This film was at the time I think more marketed than Ghost Rider. But then there was a video game. Now I do like the video game though. I had the video game on PlayStation 2. The other consoles, it's on PlayStation 3 as well, which I didn't know. PS2, Xbox 360. Yeah. Tell me about James Franco. What's up, James Franco? Well, sorry. Tell McGuire, James Franco, Trevor Grace, Thomas St. Church, J.K. Simmons, Bruce Campbell. He narrates the game for you. The film got positive reviews, or the game did, I guess. But I do remember playing this game. You play as Spider-Man, of course, and it goes by the story. You fight villains as well. You have to fight the Lizard. Now in the game, though, when you get the black suit, it is awesome because you get to fight, you get to kick some ass, and it's cool with the black suit in the Spider-Man 3 game when you got the symbiote suit. But throughout the game, the PS2 game that I had, you had to change back into the original Spider-Man suit, his red and blue suit, because the suit would consume him so much. And throughout the game, it gets a little more difficult to take off. So you gotta like press the triangle button to get the suit off. Yeah, and you do fight Sandman, and of course Venom himself, and of course Harry as well. But that fight's more on the ground. Yeah, some of the graphics don't hold up. But I did like the web slinging in that. You do get the land on the ground. I like the Spider-Man 2 web sling, but Spider-Man 3 The video game was my favorite of those, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I did like the game, and I like that Venom forced Sandman to help him by kidnapping his daughter. You know, that would have raised the stakes a little higher if they would have done that in the film. You can web swing, crawl walls, and fight enemies. Webbing them as well. Yeah, there is a kind of a cooldown where you before you put the suit on again. Yeah, and of course in the video game, like I said, you gotta fight Venom. Yeah, but I remember enjoying the Spider-Man 3 video game though. Don't have it no more, but I wish I did. It's a lot better than the film, in my opinion, story-wise. Yeah, and of course they had toys for the movie for the characters and stuff. And for the release, you get you Tobey Maguire, Peter Pan, Tobey Maguire at the premiere. The film did get mixed reviews from critics. Richard Roper gave the film 2 out of 5 for feeling slam banging action scenes that are far too many silly scenes. Roger Ebert, who gave Star 2 a glowing review, gave this sequel 2 out of 4 stars and thought Church never expressed how Sandman felt about his new powers. Something Melina has talked about Spider-Man 2. That's a good reason. Did with a vengeance. He said the film was a mess with too many villain subplots, romantic misunderstandings, conversations, and street crowds flicking high into the air and shouting, "Ooh!" This was then swearing and shooting, that way. But one critic gave this film a negative review, saying the film is a shameless which makes the rolls up goes up along or something like that. So, yeah, it seems like critics would agree. Some people don't like this movie, and I'm one of them. I used to like this film back in the day, back when it came out. I liked it, but I thought to myself, well, that wasn't as great as Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man film. But I liked it when I saw it at the time. Then I tried to watch it again, and with my cousin at his house, and he fell asleep, and he didn't like the movie. He called it boring, which honestly, I agree with you now. If he's ever watching this video. But for the future, the film Spider-Man 4 got canceled. I think Sam Raimi hated this movie the way it turned out. I think they were planning to make the Lizard the next villain, but again, that never happened because of how I say Sony screwed it up mostly, and so did Raimi, so did the writers. I'm not going to blame Sony completely. I blame some of the writing too. He did want to make Kirk Connors into a lizard, but instead we got the reboot, the Amazing Spider-Man 2, but those films didn't last long. Amazing Spider-Man 2 got bad reviews. Like I said, but then you got the Marvel Cinematic Universe where Spider-Man was, well, and the Amazing Spider-Man was, of course, played by Andrew Garfield, who is probably my favorite live-action Spidey. Sue me. But I also liked Tom Holland as well, who would play Spider-Man and Captain America: Civil War, which I wasn't keen on to first, but I like Tom Holland as Spidey, sue me, and I enjoy his Spider-Man Homecoming films. His Spider-Man trilogy. I like those. I know some people don't, but I do. Not saying they're the greatest Spider-Man films ever, but I still say the first two ones are the best Spider-Man movies in my opinion. Yeah, it just seems they got greedy afterwards, but that's just my opinion on that. Tobey Maguire as Peter for the cast. You have Tobey Maguire returning as Peter Parker Spider-Man. Did not like his performance in this one, but that's just me. Toby did in Pleasantville. Pleasantville was great. He was an episode of Arkansas Ranger and Seabiscuit, and I think he did some dancing, and of course he did return as Peter Parker in Spider-Man: No Way Home. But Toby's almost gonna be he's gonna be 50 next year, so I don't think he can play Spider-Man. Sorry, folks. Just I don't think that'll work. The Great Gatsby. I've been wanting to see that movie. Toby is great in other movies. Kristen Dunst and Mary Jane Watson. I never liked her as Mary Jane, to be honest. But I loved her in Small Soldiers. To me, the film Small Soldiers from 1998, she's more like Mary Jane in that film, more of a Spitfire. Yeah, at least she gets to be a badass and, you know, kind of with a stick beats the shit out of Wendy dolls, and is enjoying it. And in Jumanji, she does good too. She was good in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Yeah, she was great in that. I thought she was great in that movie. I like her more as a blonde, by the way. James Franco was Harry Osborn, New Goblin. James Franco, I liked him in Freaks and Geeks, the TV show. 127 Hours, he was good in that. Rise of Planet of the Apes, I liked him in that. He's also worked with Sam Raimi again and Oz the Great and Powerful. Uh, and he's done some work with Seth Rogen, which not big on those, but I mean, I know they're in Freaks and Geeks together, and I like that show. But James Franco was a good actor. Thomas St. Insurance as Flint Marco, Sandman. The only time I can think of that he played another villain was in George of the Jungle. Yeah, anyway, he was in Hellboy 2019. I didn't know that. He was in Easy A, Smart People. Max, I remember him in that. We Bought a Zoo, I remember him in that. Yeah, good in that. Oh, Lyle, yeah, he was good in that. Not the sequel, different to that sequel was even worse than this. Yeah. Spanglish, he was in that. Yeah. But Thomas St. Insurance is a good actor. I felt he did a good job, though. But I'll give it to Teresa Mark. Topher Grace as Eddie Brock Jr., Eddie Brock Venom. Yeah, I don't like Topher Grace. Never been a fan. Bryce Dallas Howard's Gwen Stacy. I felt like she wasn't needed here, but other movies she was in the Jurassic World films, of course, which I don't care for. The Peace Dragon remake from 2016. She's alright, but she's a gorgeous woman, though. I'll say that. James Conroy was Captain George Stacy, Gwen's father in the New York City Police Department captain. He was in Star Trek First Contact, liked him in that movie. LA Confidential. The Green Mile, he was great in that. The Longest Yard 2005 remake, he was really good in that. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and he was in Big Hero 6, which is a Disney anime film, but that's also a superhero movie. I gotta give that a review. That was in 2014. Okay. Rosemary Harris is Aunt May. She's great. Even she's 97 years old, they still living, and great actress in my opinion. Still my favorite Aunt May. J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson, the editor in chief of the Daily Bugle. Like I said, he played a villain in Whiplash. He was great in that movie. He was in Crazy on the Outside with Tim Allen and Sigourney Weaver. Yeah, he was Commissioner Gordon, Jim Gordon in the Justice League, which I liked in that. And Dylan Baker comes back from Spider-Man 2 as Dr. Kirk Connors. William Dafoe in a cameo portrays Norman Osborn, Green Goblin, and Cliff Robertson. This was sadly his final acting performance. Good actor. And well, he was in the superhero. He was in the Batman 60 show as Seamus. Liked him in that. And of course, he was in the first two Spider-Man film. Well, the first Spider-Man film where he died. Then the cameo. He came in Spider-Man 2. He's a cameo in here a little bit. He's in a few scenes in here, but in flashbacks. Bill Nunn, Sam Raimi's brother, and Michael Papa John Paxton, Elizabeth Banks return to Joseph Robertson, and Elizabeth Banks comes back as Betty Brant. I'm sorry, not Betty Ross. Almost that's from the Hulk. Yeah, Stan Lee his cameo in Spider-Man 3, which is referred to as his best cameo. I kind of agree. This is his best cameo though, despite it being in this crappy film. He was great, and his dialogue, which I mentioned later, was great. Hal Fishman, who was a sadly passed away, was a news anchor man in real life. He died back in 2007. He was good in here for his small part. Yeah. And the film is directed by Sam Raimi. He also directed the Evil Dead films, another superhero movie, Darkman, which he came up with. Great film. Uh, also great and powerful. And then many years later, the MCU would have him direct one of their movies, Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. And what I liked about that movie, it's like a horror movie as well. And I thought that was brilliantly done. Now it does have its issues, believe me, but I still like it. The screenplay is by Sam Raimi, Ivan Raymond, and Alvin Surgeon, who again, let's see. Oh yeah, he did the script for Darkman. Personally, I don't think he should have. He did the script for My Darkness, and he did the script for Spider-Man. He didn't do the script for the two movies. Whoever did the script for the first two movies did a lot better. Yeah, it was Alvin Surgeon who did the script for it, and he gave a good script. He did not need Sam Raimi and his brother to help him out with the script. Yeah, Alvin Surgeon did good. He's a good writer. Oh, may he rest in peace. I don't think she needed extra help on the script, but that's just my opinion. He's written quite a bit of other movies as well. first two Spider-Man films, and he wrote the script for the Amazing Spider-Man films. And what about Bob with Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss, which I love that movie. He's a good writer. Story by Sam Raimi and Ivan Reitman, based on Spider-Man by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Produced by Laura Siskin. I think she worked on. She passed away sadly at 61, but she also did the script and produced the other. Not the script. She produced the other Spider-Man films like Spider-Man 2002, Spider-Man 2, this film, and The Amazing Spider-Man. She also, was a producer on What About Bob? Again, I love the movie. As Good as It Gets with Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt, Greg Kinnear, and Kobe Gooden Jr. Really good movie. Yeah. Grant Curtis, who's worked with Raimi on other movies like. Well, I don't think he directed the. Oh yeah, he worked with the same man, The Gift, the Spider-Man films, Elegant and Powerful, and Drag Me to Hell, and Avi Avard, who has ruined many Marvel movies. I think, by the way, maybe just his ego, folks. But he's been doing super Marvel movies since the first Blade movie in 1998, and he's still, and he will be working on, he produced the Venom Last Dance, and he produced the Craven Hunter, which is coming out I think later this year, yeah, in December next month, and he's going to be working on Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. So he's been doing Marvel movies since 1998. So cinematography by Bill Pope, who did cinematography for Darkman, Army of Darkness, Fire in the Sky, Blank Check, Clueless, Bedazzled, with Brendan Fraser, the remake, Elizabeth Hurley, the Jungle Book 2016 remake, Men in Black 3. Sorry, my chest. Edited by Bob Muscovy. I can't say his name right. Darkman, he worked on that. Army of Darkness. Hard Target, he edited that. Hard Target's an awesome movie. This guy's a real good editor. From Dust Till Dawn 2, Texas Blood Money, which I do like that sequel. And he edited the first two Spider-Man films. Did a really good job though with that. Oz the Great and Powerful, Dracula Untold, Poltergeist remake, Kong Skull Island, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Production companies Columbia Pictures, Marvel Entertainment, Lawrence Productions. Over in 27 minutes. Okay. Just distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing. It was released May 4, 2007 here in the US. It's 139 minutes long. It's about 2 hours and 19 minutes. The budget was $258 million. And at the box office, it made $890.9 million worldwide. So it was a success. Anyway, let me get into the plot synopsis of Spider-Man 3. Yeah. Oh my god, it feels so hot in here. I'm like, well, now we're in the freaking November. It should be cooling down a bit. The weather. Anyway, what Spider-Man 3 is about is that Peter Parker and MJ seem to finally be on the right track in their relationship. But trouble looms for the superhero and his lover and his girlfriend. Peter's Spider-Man suit turns black when he gets the black suit, just changes his attitude, changes his behavior. Not only giving Peter a chance power, but also bringing out the dark side of his personality. Peter must overcome the suit's influence as two supervillains. One is Marco Sandman, who is responsible for killing Uncle Ben and is planning to rob places, is robbing banks and places and stuff, and so Spider-Man has to stop him. And he's got his friend Harry, who becomes the new Goblin and wants to get revenge on him, and so he's gonna take him down too. And then finally you have Venom, Topher Grace's Venom. Eddie Parker becomes Venom when he takes the suit off, and Sandman and Venom team up. They just to kill him. They kidnap Mary Jane, and along with the help of there'll be spoilers if you've seen the movie already. I don't care. With Harry, New Goblin helping him out, they must defeat them and take Sandman and Goblin, and take Sandman and Venom down and save Mary Jane and save the day. And he's got to, make a better choice of who he is, you know, as a better hero, basically. Yeah, and the film is basically about the choices that makes us who we are. Yes, and that's the plot of Spider-Man 3. If it sounds quite a bit like there's a lot going on, or too much if I'm saying it, if you watch the movie, there is a lot going on in the movie. Yeah. There's too many cooks in the kitchen with this film, but that's just my opinion. But you'll be here ranting. This will be a rant because again, I don't like this film anymore. This film bored me to death. You'll call Amazing Spider-Man films boring. They're more interesting to watch than this. Hell, hell, a lot of humor in this movie doesn't even work. I'm sitting there aggravating, with it. For me, this is like, in my personal opinion, this is like the beginning of the downfall of Spider-Man in a way. When Sony started to ruin things for Spidey, because you know, but for the story, I do like the opening though. I do like how Spider-Man 3 opens. Again, one of the highlights I give this, I do love Christopher Young's soundtrack. I forgot to mention there's a song called Snow Patrol in here, which I forget who's it by, but I hated that. Like in the first two movies, you have Hero by Chad Kroeger, love that song. And Spider-Man 2, you have Ordinary. I love that song. That song is great. Vindicated, really good. But this film, you can't even come up with a good song. The artist I thought sucked, in my opinion. But anyway, I do like the Christopher Young music score. We do hear original film. He does use original themes by Spider-Man by Danny Elfman. I do like the opening of the Venom sound, the black darkness of it with the opening and the cast, and the music's good. It sounds like he toned down the music a little bit. I felt Christopher Young kind of changed the tune up a little bit, and he had his theme for Venom. I love the Sandman thing, Da, 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 da. I'm not, it's really good music though. I thought for the opening, and then we get the opening. It's over a year later after the death of Doc Ock. You see Peter finally happy again. It ends up the second movie. It says, "Hi, I'm Peter Parker. Well, I'm Peter Parker. You know who I am. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man." And Peter talks about how great things are going for him. He just tells these kids like, "Hey, to come back," and he loves the attention of being Spider-Man. Like it gets to his head in this movie. He loves the attention of just being Spider-Man. Yeah, and I hate to say it, but it kind of makes him selfish. And he's like, "I'm doing good. Still saved. The city's saved. The city's doing well ever since he took down Doc Ock." Sorry for itching my nose so much, but he took down Doc Ock. He's doing one of these classes. Jerk is like picking on him and like, you know, doing like spitballs at him. And I'm like, can't you find some way, Peter, to maybe tease him or get back at him? Yeah, we'll call that immature. But if I was Spider-Man, at least say what you will about Andrew Garfield. I know people don't like him as Peter Parker, but at least he could do something to tease you or use his powers to mess with you a little bit. Like the basketball scene, I like that scene. Sue me. Again, if I had a jerk like a bully like that doing that to me, I think he should have just webbed his. Well, no, he could have done something like that. I don't know, web his locker or web his book bag or whatever. And he says hi to Gwen Stacy. Gwen Stacy, they shouldn't have had her in this movie. It's just too much. I don't like love triangles. This film has a big love triangle. Again, has a bit much going on in there. And he wants to buy a ring for Mary Jane. He wants to propose to her. He goes to her play, and he tells her who they are. He tells them who he is. He sits down and play. He's like, "Wow, that's my girlfriend." These guys are just people sitting here all annoyed. Yeah. And Peter, the same thing he says that he's such a dork. An annoying one of that. You say, well, Peter Parker's supposed to be nerd, not this dirty. Annoying. And Mary Jane just looked beautiful when she sings, by the way. This is probably the best performance she gives in the movie, is when she's on stage. Actually, when she's singing, that's the best performance she gives in this entire film, in my opinion. A little bit in the beginning, but we'll get to those later. She's singing, and Peter's like, seeing how love wonderful. He's like, that's my girlfriend. And he's repeating the singing, and I'm like, oh my god, idiot, And Harry Osborn's watching, and after the play, Peter sees him and was like, Harry, wait, we need to talk about your father. Like, really? Bring him back from the dead and then apologize to me. And Harry gave her some flowers. They hug each other. And like I said, their chemistry is just not there. They try the chemistry here a bit, and it's just not working. She's like, well, what's with you guys? It's nothing. It's just complicated. And he tries to speak some nerdiness to her. And I'm like, dude, can you just not be Darth Peter for like 5 minutes? Talk like a fucking normal human being for once in your life. That's my issue with him. We don't see him do scientific stuff. We just see him be a dork in these movies. I mean, I wouldn't call him a dork in the first Spider-Man too. I mean, it's funny, but by the third time, it's not the charm with this with him. It just gets annoying. He creates the web, you know, or we'll have it, well, the web where they're laying, they're just sitting on the web, watching the stores. She's like, tell me you love me. He's like, I love you. Always have. Let's make sure a kiss. Like, a little mental moment there, but then you get, you know, this meteor that crashes. It's the symbiote. The black alien symbiote comes down and he webs them down. They go on his bike to just go home. I'm like, well, okay, why did you need to bring the bike in the first place? Can you just be Spider-Man? I'm just kidding. I'm not complaining. Whatever. You can't be Spider-Man all the time, right? But anyway, the symbiote gets on the back of his bike. It's like a little black symbiote like this kind of, and it just jumps on his bike. Meanwhile, you have Flint Marco who escaped from prison. He's running from the cops. He's hiding. He sees his daughter. Sees the notes that he gave her from prison, or that she gave him, that he wrote to her, and he changes into well, he wears the green shirt, like I guess from the comics. I don't know about too much about Sandman from the comics, but I guess you say this. Wife is like, "What are you doing here, Flint? You're one of me. You shouldn't be here, Flint. You shouldn't be here. You can't see your daughter." He's like, "You even killed the man." He's like, "It wasn't like that." He's like, "I'm not a bad person. I just had bad luck, made bad choices, whatever." And of course, he goes on the run. He says, "Penny, I'm gonna do everything you give." But I can understand Sandman's motivation. I kind of like that Raimi gives him it, but we don't spend enough time with Flint enough to care. I mean, if you want me to care about, if you want to do more sympathy with Sandman, at least do it better. But with this film and the plot and stuff, with the script being such a mess, you really have no time for it. You can only look for a moment of sadness for his daughter, and you don't. That's the last time you see her in the movie. Penny, name's Penny, but you don't see Penny for the whole movie, for the rest of the whole film. So it's kind of like they really screwed up, I think, with that. But anyway, Sandman takes off. I mean, God dang it, sorry. Flint takes off, escapes. Yes, and I'm trying to remember what happened after that. Oh yeah, he goes to, see Aunt May. Before that, uh, Harry becomes the new Goblin. He takes the experiment on himself, gives himself strength, and I didn't like the suit very much. Well, anyway, he talks to Aunt May. I did like, bless her heart, Rosemary Harris. She is great as always in these movies. I mean, it's no, we all need a hero in all of a speech. It doesn't really have that impact, but her words do leave a lasting impression on me. And when she tells Peter about responsibility, can you be the man she wants you to be, Peter? He's like, yeah. But she tells him about how, her and Uncle Ben, how Uncle Ben proposed to her, that they were on an island, they went swimming, and he made it very special for her. And she tells Peter to do the same thing. Peter, be the man that she wants you to be, you know, make it special. I figure since he's Spider Man, if he's going to propose to her, why not just be a Spider Man, go web swinging, and shoot a web saying, we and writing a web saying, "Will you marry me?" I mean, that maybe would have been a special moment between them, but that doesn't happen. And then Harry attacks him, and he's got like this knife on his side. He looks like a surf ninja. I mean, why can't he have like a goblin kind of face? Like it makes his father go insane, but it doesn't to Harry. Harry's perfectly normal. Or just did he just use some of the gas just to give him strength, and that was it? I guess so. He gets some goblin weapons. He's got the knife. He's got the goblin bombs. He's even got a sword, which I like. But the suit that they give him, I'm like, no. I think so true about Raiden's Farm too, but I like that he gets a goblin face. That they knew they made it more scary. Goblin needs to have a face. I guess you could say they don't do that because of children going to see this movie. They don't want to frighten children, but the thing is, Goblin is a frightening character. He's a very great villain. He's supposed to be scary, in my opinion. But they fight, and I'll admit, there were times when he first kicks Peter's ass. Peter nearly loses the ring. He just kicks him away, and I like the moment when he's trying to web like three times, and each time, Harry knocks him down, and then he takes off his mask because he ain't got nothing to hide. He's like, you knew this was coming, Peter. He tries to tell him about what happened to his father, and there are some CGI shots of Toby's face where it's not him, and the CGI looks really bad. This film also has action, but the action is good when it's not CGI close-ups. But he grabs things. He tries to web at the. He grabs the ring eventually. Runs from him. They're going to like in between buildings. It's very close, and he's using the goblin sticks, goblin bombs, like that. The ones that have like little swords come at them to attack him. And he webs one of them, throws one of the goblin bombs at him, and uses fireball to stop him, like a line, knocks him out. And Harry loses his memory, gets knocked out real bad, takes him to the hospital. He has to make up a story, of course. Then meanwhile, you see Philip Marco running from the cop. He falls in his accelerator. He has to jump on this fence. The dog tries to attack him. He pushes the dog. Gets over. He later falls in the center, which these scientists are like really dumb because first of all, when he jumps in there, they said maybe it's a rat, maybe it's a bird, maybe it'll just fly away. I'm like, these scientists are stupid. Can you not just take a look and say, oh, there's a man down there? Maybe we shouldn't turn the things on just in case. But again, we won't have Sandman without him. But they turn it on. That's more like nitpicking, I guess. You know, the sand gets in his body. Peter, I can barely even talk. Sorry. Uh, anyway, the sand takes over his body so much that he becomes sand. He falls. He thinks he's probably gonna die first, but later then we go back to Peter seeing his friend. I mean, seeing Harry and God tell him he's okay. He has memory loss, short-term memory loss. And he's like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" And they're all good. And Mary Jane's like, "We're all good friends." Like, "Yeah, we're all good. Yeah, we'll hang out later, buddy." And Harry's like, "I give my life for them." He's all smiling. He's forgetting everything. This is what the problem with me is that you build it up so well for Harry to be the villain, and then you just ruin his character. This movie ruins Harry. I was going to play not James Franco. He's just doing the script what he can, what he's been given. You know. Then we see Sandman being born, and I like the moment when he comes out of the sand, and it's really good CGI, touching his face and trying to grab the necklace that has the picture of painting on it, and then it motivates him. And he gets back up, and he's going to continue to rob places. Meanwhile, there's dramas that starts between Mary Jane and Peter, and she reads a critic. She comes to read him the paper what this critic says. Like her song doesn't pass the first row. It was like it was great. Well, you were in the first row, and she's like, well, sometimes you just gotta get on the horse and get back. Don't give me the horse thing. Try to understand how I feel, okay? I'm sorry to say this, but Mary Jane is a bitch, and this being a bitch here. And again, the love story with this movie doesn't work. Like, say what you will about the Amazing Spider-Man film. Say all the crap you want to say about it. At least Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone had chemistry. Yeah, this this relationship is toxic. You know, Peter and Mary Jane in here don't have no chemistry. There's no love story. Their chemistry sucks. Even Spider-Man 2, you can just tell that this love is never going to work. Even, that look on Mary Jane's face at the end, you figured, okay, maybe they're going to work this out, maybe the relationship will go well. But no, this film completely ruins that. It's just wishful thinking. She fusses at him, and she somewhat becomes jealous of him as well as Spider-Man. I'm like, so she gets fired from the play. They hire this actress who, it's pretty hideous, by the way, I think. And she thinks people are clapping for her. She sees him as Spider-Man, and she's like, "Go get him, Tiger!" And she just walks away angry. He almost sees the symbiote, but the symbiote was like able to hide. And as Spider-Man, he goes, Gwen Stacy, you see Eddie Brock. Well, this crane goes crazy and it breaks part of the building off. She's about to fall to her death, and Spider-Man shows up. Really cool moment shot. Spider-Man jumps in web swings and saves her. You know, and says, "Spider-Man, your pictures make you kind of look fat." And again, them trying to make Eddie and him rivals. I don't think you need to do that. Him trying to be the opposite of people. No, Eddie Brock is a guy that is willing to cheat and sometimes and to even be as bad as JJ. To hate Spider-Man as well. In the animated series, he was trying to ruin Dr. Connor's life by showing that he was a lizard taking pictures. He was nothing. Brock, worked out, exercised a lot. Yeah, and he was completely the opposite. A bit more of a jerk like JJ, even worse jerk. But still, they did Eddie Brock better. And here, Topher Grace is terrible. He tries to be a ladies' man and he sucks at it. because he thinks, he goes is like, "What about that perfect date we had? We had coffee, Eddie, and that was it." And I'm like, tries to flirt with Betty, Elizabeth Banks, but it doesn't work. I'm like, dude, and his dialogue sucks too. Topher Grace was just awful. He's just he's miscast in my opinion. He's just miscast in my opinion as Venom. Tom Hardy's no better. I don't care to see Venom: The Last Dance. I'm like, that title's stupid, by the way, in my opinion. Um, yeah. What was I at? I'm really forgetting the film. But anyway, I was talking about A. Brock a little bit. But Spider-Man saves her. He takes pictures of him. He's like, you're supposed to make you look chunky a bit. And I'm like, okay, this ain't funny. Swings away. He's like, you gotta worry about that now, buddy. You know. And she looks at Spider-Man and you say, Gwen doesn't look with Spidey. But later they have a festival. And again, his dorkiness. I'm talking about Toby. They're playing drums and I thought that was just stupid. And he looks at the key at the city, reads about it, by the way. And this is one the best thing about this film comes Stanley. May he rest in peace. I miss Stanley so much. We all do. But Stanley says, I guess one person can make a difference. The best dialogue out of the whole movie is that. That is the best scene in the movie. And I like James Cromwell as well. He does a good job for what he has to do. They have a carnival for him. And I do like when Spider-Man's being Spider-Man. He's actually being cool and he's wrestling. He's high-fiving people. He's like, yeah, hey, why can't we get more of this Spider-Man? Maybe joke him, make him joke a lot. Again, his Spider-Man is too quiet. I want Spider-Man talking a lot more, being jokey. At least Andrew Garfield, his Spider-Man is very talkative, and I like that. I like Spider-Man talking and being a wise ass. That's what you need to be. I mean, here he's just irritating as Peter, but that moment Spider-Man, then he does the kiss. I'm sorry, Peter. That was a bit of a douchebag thing to do, especially with Mary Jane watching. Did you forget Mary Jane was there and you had that kiss, the upside down kiss? I'm like, and this little boy's like, no, don't do it, Spider Man, and he does it, and I'm like, why do we need that? I'm like, you're kind of being a selfish prick, and then all of a sudden, Sandman attempts to rob an armored car. He can use his power, you know, fly become a giant sandstorm and to fly away. But anyway, these cops chase him at first. They recognize him. He runs in this fan of sand. The cop tries to use a shovel, but he punches him. He becomes like a big giant sand monster. A really good CGI as well. And when he does, punch and the town sees him, and Spidey sees it, and he goes to web swing after him. He goes to the armored car van, jumps in there, gets the car going by using his powers, starts robbing the money, and Spidey's like, "All right, pal, it's over. Show's over." He's like, "This, leave. I don't want to hurt you right now, okay?" And he's like, "No, I'm not going anywhere." I don't know if you heard about, but I'm the sheriff around these parts. Oh, really? Then he tries to punch him, and then Spider-Man tries to punch him. He punches him through the stomach, which is the scene you see right here, or better yet, to show you the picture. I just read this to help me remind me. Yeah. And the Sandman uses his legal fist for sand powers. But the thing is, he can't really touch him. So Spider-Man, he's using the door kind of like a slide, kind of like when you're surfing, just web swing around the car a little bit. Uh, and he flies up. He tries to swing these web balls, whatever you call them, these web spinners. Someone call them. Saying web balls is just weird, but spinners tries to web at him. It doesn't work. He's kind of swishing around. He does kick him, do a good kick, like the sound, kick around him. But Sandman's able to use his fist, like he can shapeshift anything with his sand, like a hammer, and hit Spider-Man, knock him out real hard. Spider-Man is about to wreck, and he saves the life of the two guards by picking them up, getting them out of the sand, and webbing them. Sandman goes away. And I kind of thought the moment was funny when he jumps into the sand. Not jumps into the sand, but the web things away. Sandman sees him, but he doesn't know where Sandman's at. And he takes off his mask. He's got sand over his like, where do these guys come from? Gives over Spider-Man, his spider boot, his boot, sand all in it. I thought that was funny. He goes on a date with Mary Jane. This is where you get Bruce Campbell in his worst cameo or worst small part in the Spider-Man movie, where he was the wrestling announcer and then the annoying usher. He was funny in those. He was good in those. But in here, he's just annoying. He can't say Peter's name right. He said, "That is what I said. The Parker, Parker." I thought that was irritating. I'm French, no. And Mary Jane comes over. They have a fight. And I could be on her side here. She's like, Gwen Stacy comes over, says hi, and is like, I can't imagine being in love with Spider-Man. She's like, how come you never mentioned her? Well, she's just a girl in my class. And Peter's also talking about, I know how difficult fame can be. Being Spider-Man is I'm something of an icon. And Peter, you're talking about being Spider-Man almost in front of people. Somebody could overhear you. And I'm like, well, again, he's being a selfish prick because he's only thinking about himself. And, yeah, I guess they'd be avoiding the writer thought, well, she's just the girlfriend, you know, that complains and whines a lot. So yeah, that's what they do with it. They just make playing a little whiny bitch in this movie. But she's not being that in this part of the movie. She's upset and she's telling him, that was our kiss. Why did you do that? That was our kiss. Was it Peter Parker or Spider-Man giving her a kiss? It was Spider-Man, Mary Jane. Why are you being like this? And she's like, okay, I don't talk to you, Peter. I'm done. I can't do this. And you know, Bruce Campbell thinks he's calling him to propose, but he gets the ring out of the champagne, upset, and he wants to talk to Mary Jane, tries to give her a call. She listens to his message, but it's too late. Then she calls back, but instead it's Captain George Stacy, and he tells him, he calls her and Aunt May down there, tells them that this escaped prisoner 2 days who escaped 2 days ago was the one that killed Uncle Ben, not Dennis Carradine. Yes, they make Sandman the killer, which is stupid. And Peter thinks the moment that Slick got him out of there and shot Uncle Ben on purpose, did it viciously, wanted to kill him, and that consumes Peter. And Mary Jane tries to talk to him. The black symbiote, the symbiote's there. It knows the vengeance he's feeling, so it needs to bond with him. And he's sleeping at night. He's having a dream, he's having a nightmare about it, and the symbiote knows this dream, and it gets into his body, which is a real cool transformation. And he sees the suit for the first time, and he gets the black suit. And when he does, he's like, "What is this?" He's like, "Whoa, this was great for power." Jumps down, has fun. He's like, "This is something else." Loves it at first. It enhances his powers as well. He goes to talk to it alters Peter's personality as well, where he becomes emo Peter, but a little later on in the movie. He goes to talk to Connors, Dr. Kurt Connors, about it, and he says it's a black symbiote. It's a symbiote. In order to survive, it needs to host with a bond. And sometimes these things, when they bind with something, they can be hard to unbind. So don't let that get in. Don't let that get on you. Over some tests. Again, Peter also has a talk with Harry. He's at the hospital. They talk about girlfriends. And this scene again was boring. Raimi wanted to do it to just renounce their friendship. Harry is able to grow basketball and really fast grow basketball. I was like, wow, good reflexes. But that's part of his abilities, which he's not going to tell him, of course. I forgot to mention he was there again. This film has so much back and forth going on with it that it does get irritating. Mary Jane loses her job. She gets a job as a waitress singer at a jazz club. Doesn't tell Peter. Don't know why. The two just won't talk. It's just this relationship is toxic, and that kind of leads her toward more to Harry, where she might, because Harry tells her when they were at the carnival for Spider-Man that he wrote a play for her. She's like, "Oh, that's the sweetest thing, Harry." But you can assume that their relationship is getting closer. Yeah. But eventually, Peter's able to hear, listen to the radio. He confronts Sandman. Well, first of all, he just swings over, sees the guard's knocked out, and see that he's going down the sewer. And Eddie Brock's like, "Well, I love the black suit, Spidey." Takes pictures. He shows the picture. He's like, "See you later, chump." And he web swings it, breaks it. But Parker and Eddie, I forgot to mention, Peter and Eddie are trying to fight for a staffing, editing position or whatever, a staff job at the Daily Bugle. I didn't like J.K. Simmons' movie. I know he is funny in the first two movies, but in this movie, he's getting mad with Ted Raimi's brother. I mean, Ted Raimi, Hoffman, and Elizabeth Banks telling him based on take the pill, this one. And here it's like J.K. Simmons himself is bored. Like a lot of the humor just doesn't work. Spider-Man in his hand with a cookie jar. Sorry. And it's like the humor just does not work in this film. A lot of the humor is lame. There's only a few moments that make me laugh. But anyway, Spider-Man goes down to the sewer. He's like, Flint Marco. He's like, what do you want from me? He's like, do you remember Ben Marco, the man you shot down a couple? And he's like, what does it matter to you anyway? And everything the string goes by, he kicks him. And Sandman's like, whoa, shock, like seeing how strong Spidey's become. He kicks him out first with with a sandwag and punches him away. Nearly knocks down Spider-Man web slings, kicks him back, and I like the scene where he grabs his face where a train's coming and hits his face to the sand. He's like, oh, this is the eye. He's like, it's time to pay Marco, and he punched Sandman, punches him, and he punches Sandman. Sandman, after the sand goes off his face nearly. They fight, and I guess his weakness is water, and Spider-Man kills him by pressure comes the water, the water tank. They're like good friends, and you see him become an emo as he's changing his personality. Mr. Darkovich, who his landlord says, gets on his like, rent, free country, not rent free country. He's like, give me rent. It's like, you for rent when you fucking farm. And he's shocked. It's like, he's a good boy. He must be in some kind of trouble. Peter later apologizes to him, and I like to Mr. Davis. He's a funny character. I did like it when he said, well, if it's a woman calling, you say, you're a good woman, I'm a good man. That was funny. Even though I hate this movie, I did like some of the humor at times. It worked. Anything's Mary Jane's calling. And I forgot to mention, because of her being upset, she goes there. Harry still lost his memory. She calls him, and he's painting, and he comes over to have dinner. This scene just bored me. I didn't care for the scene. They start dancing, do the twist song, and I thought this was just stupid. And they share a kiss. She's like, "Oh, forgive me," and then all of a sudden, he touches this mirror because he is like his father's calling to him, and he touches the mirror. And he has all these memories of when his father died, when he told him, when he found out Peter was Spider-Man, all of those memories and being knocked out by Peter fighting him as New Goblin, that's coming back to him. He's like, do you remember who you are? He's like, I remember, Father, I remember everything. You swore my, I was right about her, Peter, Mary Jane. First we attack his heart. And Peter's like, so he prepares to get revenge, and to do that, he, grabs Mary Jane in his goblin suit. If you want Peter to live, here's what you're gonna do. And it forces her to break up with Peter. She says Peter's over, and he's like, so, starts crying and whining. I don't understand why couldn't Mary Jane or Peter have his spider sense tingling, instead of his heart, use his spider sense and realize, because he has spider sense, he should be able to sense when there's trouble. What's the point of having spider sense? Spider-Man has that, right? He does, I know he does. But she can't tell him, hey, Peter, he's Harry got his memory back. He's back to being the new Goblin. He's back to want revenge. He wants to kill you. You can go get him. I'm like, I think he can handle that, Mary Jane. If you would have told him, you think he cannot handle? He's Spider-Man. You know that. You know, if she maybe would have called him on the phone and told him that, and if he came over as Spider-Man and somewhat was able to jump on Harry and knock him out, maybe send him to jail or something for attempted murder on him earlier or something, or knock him out, you know. But that doesn't happen. Instead, they break up. Like the relationship starts to like, oh, see, she wasn't there for me, and I didn't care for this scene. And Peter talks to Harry in a diner. They're at a pie place. You know, Harry tells him, "I'm the other guy. I was there for her. I'm sorry, buddy." And Peter walks away. And then he looks at Peter like this, smiling, like taunting him. Peter realizes that he doesn't remember. A truck comes by, and then Harry vanishes. I guess turns invisible. Yeah. I guess one of his powers from the transformation into the Goblin, he gets vanishing power real quick. And he confronts Harry that night. He's like, she doesn't know what you are. She doesn't love you. He's like, then he teases him, and then again he's in the black suit because he's mad and wants revenge. And he punches Harry in the face. Harry uses the goblin weapon a little bit, knives, to stab him a little bit. But Peter puts up a good fight. He's like, is that all you got? And then he knocks him out the window. He's like, this stings, doesn't it? He's like, I protected you in high school. Now I'm going to whoop your little ass. It's like, ooh. They fight more. They eventually get into the goblin's lair, fight a little more. Harry's got the sword again, trying to stab at him, but he lets the surf ninja board go off and the glider go off, and Peter picks him up like this, and he gets hit, and he's like, I'm done. He's like, you kill me like you kill my father. He's like, I'm done trying to convince you. I didn't kill your father. I'm done trying to convince you of that. You stole him from me. You took his love from me. He's like, no, he despised you. You're an embarrassment to him. And he's like, this is what I thought was some of the humor voice where emo Peter says, there's a there's a look at little Goblin Junior. Oh, you gonna cry? Tries to give him time. He's like knocks him out. And before he's fully knocked out, he grabs a goblin bone, throw it up here. Peter with his breakfast skater on top, those things, and boom, blows up in his face. Later on, he goes to the Daily Bugle. Uh, Apparently, when Spider-Man destroyed his camera that night, A brought some pictures of Spider-Man robbing the bank, but they take, it's false and like your trash brought your pictures of fake, like you was like this. He's like, Peter Parker, you're such a boy. He attacks him. He's like, hey guys, you okay? Where's Wizard like this? You want forgiveness? Get religious, Peter tells him. He's like, please don't do this to me. No paper and town will hire me if you do this. I'll be ruined. He's like, you should have thought of that beforehand. He's like, your picture's a fake. Tell your editor to check the printer next time. And they do, and J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah says, you're fired. Get out. You're fired. It's like, and we can't print a retraction either because of this. And it ruins him. And it's one of the worst scenes ever in a superhero movie that I've ever seen of him dancing. Dean McCoo doing this dancing, just trying to be cool, and all these ladies are laughing at him, like, dancing, and it just looks really stupid. This is just something he wouldn't do. You know what? The Venom song I like better because that's more darker. Because he almost kills. Yeah, okay, he does dress up like a rock star, which I thought that was a funny moment though. But he becomes an a pretty much. He's even mean to Aunt May. He snaps on Aunt May. He almost kills Rhino and Shocker. He's yelling. He's angry. What I liked about the Marvel Spider-Man 2 game is Peter is just angry, and that anger consumes him in the suit, and almost kills Craven the Hunter. Nearly does it, beats the crap out of criminals and enjoys it. I wanted to see somewhat from the suit. That's the problem with this movie. We don't get enough of Black Suit Spider-Man in action. We just get emo Peter dancing, flirting with his landlord's daughter. She's feeding him cookies, being his little playmate. He's like, and awkward dialogue. He's like, go give me some nuts. Give me some nuts. Yeah, go make me some. That's just weird dialogue to me. That was awkward, but or he's just sitting down with this, relaxing, chilling, and flirting with Betty Brant, making sexual advances toward her, and you see him dance more on the ladies like this. Comes out. I'm like, this is just stupid. So you can laugh when I do it, but when Peter Parker's doing it, I'm like, who wrote this? Did y'all really think this was a good idea? I mean, have you not seen the Venom saga? Have you not seen the episodes of In the Black Steel? Why couldn't you just have me Dark? You want to complain about him yelling, like saying, oh, shocker, that was scary, that was intense. In the Spider-Man suit, he's like, wait a minute, you can't kill him. You're the good guy, remember? He's like this. He's like, I have the power. He's like, or I'm done being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. That is so much better. Watch the Spider-Man the Venom. Sorry, I'm begging you, but watch those episodes. You got Disney Plus. It is so much better and darker. They make the Black Suit Spider-Man a joke in this film. Or Marvel Spider-Man, where he gets attacked, where he can be really aggressive. Um, I get really mad. They do such a shitty job of that. Then later on, he takes Gwen Stacy on a date just to make her jealous, and he does more dancing. He goes to the party, and Mary Jane's gonna sing a song. He's like, "This is for you, double time," and he's dancing. And she's like, and have a dance. And I'll give Gwen Stacy this though. She's like, that was for her. I was like, I'm sorry, and she feels bad for what happened. She what Peter was doing, and really felt bad for what she did. I generally, you know, understand how she felt. Peter goes up to her, to Mary Jane, and is like, hey, what's your problem? He's like, you. And then he's like, yeah, Tom, there's a problem here. Security tries to take him out, but Peter attacks him, attacks Mary Jane. She's like, who are you? And he runs out in regret for what he just did. And, she's like, why did I do that? And get the scene where he goes to the church. He's just hanging over it, and Peter realizes that he's got to get rid of the suit. Realizing this suit is just damaging his relationship, especially with Mary Jane and his friends. It's just making him a bad person, and he just doesn't want to be bonded to anyone. He just get rid of it. So he goes to the bell tower, take it off. Gets each effects. He's taking off his, you see like the venom coming out of him, the symbiote roaring because the bell sound, which is the weakness of venom, which is for sound vibration is the symbiote's weakness. It helps him get off the suit more. He does get it off. Eddie Brock is there basically to pray to God, to ask God to kill Peter Parker. And Eddie Brock goes to the same church, and he bonds aggressively to Eddie, transforming him into the monsters. It transforms him into Venom. At first he's like, ah, it's got him like hanged up. The suit gets on him, and at first he doesn't, he's scared at first, but when it finally gets on him, he like feels that power, and he's like, just roars at the camera, screams at the camera. And I forgot to mention, you do have Sandman come back because he put that water tank. Sandman's back, wanting revenge. Tries to go, plans to kill Spider-Man. Aunt May supports him. She tells him that he can try his best to put things right. He's like, "You forgive yourself." And I liked her dialogue there. You know, again, Rosemary Harris says she's not a whole lot of this movie, but when she's there, she is good. She is giving it her best, I think, in this film. Eventually, Eddie finds well, I'm not gonna call him Venom, but Eddie in the suit now. Venom, Spider Man, oh, Sandman attacks him thinking he's Spider Man. Then when he roars at him, when he forget the look of Venom in this movie, but it's like kind of a warring face, but still, he's like, I want him dead too. Funny. He's like, the way he wants to treat your daughter is like, we can team up, we can take him down together. And Sandman's like, yeah, I'm interested. And so Eddie pretends to be a cab driver, turns and kidnaps her and her and Sandman. Peter sees it on TV, and they said there's this kidnapping situation going on, and it says Spider-Man come and stop if you can. Sandman is attacking them, and Venom is attacking them as well. They think it's Black Suit Spider-Man, but it's not. You know, he tries to. Harry tries to. I mean, Peter tries to ask Harry for help, just up as Spider-Man in his Spider-Man suit, which I like the moment when he gets his suit back and tries to talk to him. He's like, "We need to talk. We need to go. I can't take him, but like, get out." And his face is scarred up real bad. Oh, and by the way, Bernard, his butler, apparently knew what happened over these 2 years ago and didn't tell Harry. And he's like, but the night that your father pierced his place, I cleaned his wound. Apparently, he got himself killed and ate it. But there's no question that he died. So I'm like, and he's like, I loved your father, I loved you. And I'm like, I was hoping for Harry to slap the shit out of him because that pissed me off. I'm like, really? You knew this, Bernard? And my face is halfway blown off? And I did this all for nothing? You knew this crap? That was, I don't know who wrote that. I saw three writers came over with it. It had to be either maybe Ivan Reitman or Sam Raimi, the Raimi brothers that wrote that. Why? Oh, well, we need redemption for Harry. I'm like, and then Harry decides to become the Goblin and make the new Goblin a hero. Shows up, Spider-Man shows up, people clap, yay! He shows up web singing, you know. This is when they have a final confrontation. He's like, I'm gonna get you out of here. Venom knocks him down. Venom. I'm supposed to say Eddie. He's not Venom. And because he shows his face throughout the movie, he never says we are Venom. So I'm not calling him Venom. They don't even call him Venom in the movie. It's just in name only. But it's really just you see his face the whole time in the movie. He's like, "Hey Parker, my spider sense is tingling, if you know what I mean." And he's like, "Can we settle this?" I'm like, "I'm thinking humiliation. Kind of like the way you humiliated me. You humiliated me. You remember what you did to me?" He's like, "I'm gonna. You took my girl, and I'm gonna kill yours." Turns his mask on, whatever, try to kill. Mary Jane does one cool thing. She grabs the brick and throws it to his head, and he fights. And it's some bad CGI there. He puts his mask back on, and the Sandman comes out. Does the little thing, but Sandman punches him, and then knocks him out, and his mask gets ruined, and he web swings his face. I mean, his neck. Venom does. Eddie does. You know, and he punches him. Get ready to kill him. And everybody's gonna be sad 'cause he's about to die. I'm like, well, he had it coming anyway. But anyway, thankfully, Goblin shows up. Harry does a pumpkin bomb, and they decide to fight him together. And I mean, Harry does a real good job fighting Sandman, putting his arm on fire. You know, you know, and he helps Peter save Mary Jane. So really, I think Harry was as the new Goblin, as Goblin Junior was. I'm calling Goblin Junior just to make fun, but he was more the hero than Spider-Man himself because he got his ass whooped. But eventually, they ever save Mary Jane, and he's like, "You okay?" He's like, "Peter, I could use some help here." I'm like, maybe just call him Spider-Man. I'm just joking. That's nitpick. But anyway, he does try to kick Sandman, but Sandman knocks him out. But he uses the two bombs, Goblin bombs, and doesn't kill Sandman, but knocks him out real good. Good. He's out for the count on the fight, but not dead though. And then Spider-Man's listening to Venom. Venom cannot trigger Spider-Man's spider sense, so he just attacks him when he can. He does grab him, knocks him out. He's like, "Don't hunt what you can't kill." He's like, "I know the power feels good, don't you?" He's like, "Eddie, you gotta take the suit off." He's like, "Oh, you like that, wouldn't you?" And he's like, "I know the power feels good, but you lose yourself." He's like, "It's like being bad. It makes me happy." He gets out and cringy dialogue, by the way. Tries to, but a little good music score by Christopher Young, who I love the music score, by the way. It does sound devilish for Venom. He tries to almost kill him, which, but he throws these pumpkin knives, swords at him, and tries to fight him. Nearly knocks him out. You know, but he web swings the goblin glider, the ninja, the ninja goblin glider is what I call it. Web swings it, he falls to his not to his death, but all these rails come falling down, and he realizes that's his weakness, and Venom is going to stab him with the glider. Instead, Harry jumps away, stabs Harry, and Peter fights him. He's like, like he's taking a dump again or something, but he gets out of it. Hits him with a rail. You know, pipes. I mean, he grabs the pipes, just pushes them around and just boom, knocks him out of it. And he gets 80 of them, and he uses the goblin's ladder, gets the palm gun, destroy it, palm gun destroyed it. He's like, "No, Peter, what are you doing?" He jumps in there, like, "Eddie!" And he jumps in there and he dies with it. And then he goes to talk to Sandman, who's redeemed, and Sandman says, "Oh, I didn't want any of this. I didn't have a choice." I'm like, "Yes, you did. And what do you mean you don't want any of this? You just became a giant sand monster. Probably hurt a bunch of cops. How many cops you hurt, God knows what, and nearly killed Harry in the first place. So and you almost killed Spider-Man and when you first met him, you know. So what are you saying you didn't want any of this? And you're robbing a bank, which is wrong, and you're killing, being a thief, which is wrong. So you're basically saying you don't have a choice. I'm like, yeah, you do. Yeah. Why don't you use your powers to build sandcastles and make money? Maybe that'll help Penny out. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make a little joke, out of it. But he tells him, about that Uncle Ben tried to help him and he accidentally shot him. And he's like, I did, I'm sorry what I did to you. I did a bad thing to you. I just hope you can forgive me for it. And Peter does forgive him, and he turns up to a standstill and flies away. Won't see him again though until Spider-Man: No Way Home, but in a whole bunch of CGI, which I don't mind. Harry shares a moment. Oh yeah, spoiler. There's spoilers always in my videos. And Harry dies and says, "Peter, my friend, I love you," and he dies. He's from Harry. I didn't feel sad. I was just bored by this moment. I didn't care. This just killed off another Spider-Man movie. And you know what? No wonder why we get the Amazing Spider-Man films. Is because if you hate those movies, you should blame this, that, blame, Sony and the Raimi and the writing and the directing because of this movie, the way it turned out. Because you kill off a good character, you had a good story to start with, and you ruined it. Peter died, Harry dies, they have a funeral for him. You do see Flash Thompson there, same actor, by the way. Peter, Mary Jane, they begin, she's singing at the jazz club, they have a little dance, and, well, they just dance, and then that's the end of the film, and yeah, that's Spider-Man 3, and then the Snow Patrol song the same. So that's Sugar Man 3, yeah. Let me get the reasons why I hate this movie. I'm about to be done here, folks. Now we're in 1 hour 26, 16 minutes in. I'm close to being done. Just give me a second here. Now, why I hate Spider-Man 3? Because I hated the story. First of all, what do I like about the movie? Okay, I do love the action. The action scenes are good. When the action is there, the action is really good. The CGI special effects for Sandman are really good. Um, I like Thomas Hayden Church. It's just the writing was the problem for me. Like him saying, I didn't want any of this, even though you turned to a giant sand monster, which made no sense. But the CGI for that is really good. And at the end, too, really good CGI. Thomas Hayden Church did good. Um, I forgot him, J.K. Simmons. He borrows a camera from a little girl, and she makes him pay $100. And there's no film in it. He's looking at her, and she says, "Film's extra." He's like, gets money out. And I thought that was funny. J.K. Simmons, though, he was good. Rosemary Harris, she gave the best performance in this movie for what she has to do. And Bryce Dallas Howard, I don't mind Bryce Dallas Howard. I mean, I don't think she's that great of an actress. To be honest, I don't think she's good. She sucks in the Jurassic World movies. I didn't mind her here, but you don't need Gwen Stacy in this movie at all. James Cromwell's good. All these actors are good. They're doing their best. Some of the new cast, well, except Topher Grace, he sucks, but the rest of those casts are good. The action scenes, the music score, the theme for Venom and Sandman, or you know what, the black suit symbiote theme, the theme for the black suit and the theme for Sandman are really good. And it feels like Christopher Young changed the tone a little bit for the Spider-Man theme. He did really good. I thought he did a lot better job than Danny Elfman. Don't get me wrong, Danny Elfman is one of my favorite composers. I love his score to Batman '89 and Batman Returns. That will be the best Batman theme ever, in my opinion. That will stand the test of time. That is a great freaking theme. But for Spider-Man, it just didn't work. I don't like. I hate Alien's Hope, but I like the score by Danny Elfman. Even though some of it can be weird at times, but like the main title I thought was good. And the film's too long. It's boring. The story is all over the place. It's a mess. Again, Sam Raimi should have not wrote the script for this movie. Neither should have Ivan Reitman. It should have just been Alvin Sherman, who wrote a great script for the first two movies, mind you. For Spider-Man 2, he wrote a really good script about it's the choices that makes. That was in the first two movies. He chose to be Spider-Man. Second movie, he chooses not to be Spider-Man, but realizes Spider-Man, that's who he is. With great power comes great responsibility. And in this movie, he gets to explore his dark side, but again, it's just forced in here because you have Sandman in here, then you got Harry being a new Goblin, then you throw Eddie Brock Venom into the mix. It's just too much. And you throw Gwen Stacy, they put way too much in this movie. It seems like, okay, Sony wanted to make a big movie out of this because Spider-Man 2 was such a hit that they were seeing dollar signs. They don't care about us Spider-Man fans. They don't care about you Marvel fans, us Marvel fans or superhero fans, if you will. They don't give a crap. They just give a crap about, the money out of your pocket. And that's what they were trying to do. They just wanted to rush in here. They wanted to open them. A studio should not do that. And it was not just them, but I think it was Ivan Reitman or no, it was what's that Avi Alvar who wanted to do it as well. That should not have been his decision. He's a producer. It should be up to the director and writer what they want to do, not the producer like that. If they said they don't want Venom in there, don't put Venom in there. If it's too much, it seems like Raimi was a bit under pressure. The only thing I blame with Sam Raimi is making Uncle Ben his killer, making Uncle Ben, making Marco his killer, which makes no sense. Probably that didn't come from the comics, and it's stupid. I don't need a full redemption for Sandman. You could have just made him a petty criminal, leave out the daughter. But if you're gonna bring the daughter in here, take out Venom completely in a black suit. Take it out. Save it for Spider-Man 4. You just save it for the next movie. We would have gotten Spider-Man 4 if they would have not used Venom in this movie. And Topher Grace, like I said, he's terrible in my opinion. He's just awful. Save it for another film. That's what you could have done. Save it for another movie. You know, just have Harry be the new Goblin, and to lose his memory too. I bet that was on Sam Raimi and the whole his brother. And this script, with Bernard telling his, it's not a nitpick, it's a problem because Bernard knew this the whole time and didn't tell him, and Harry's face is halfway blown off, and he knew it the whole time. That was just stupid. I was like, telling to him like, oh, by the way, your dad died of his own blade. I'm like, wow. Harry should have slapped him, like I said, and fired him. He just should have fired him. But the cinematography is nice. The editing, the action scenes are really well shot. And a lot of the CGI is good. Some of the CGI close up with, especially with Toby's face, sometimes with the faces, it looks like a PlayStation 2 version of a game with the faces. It looks awful. Looks really dated. I mean, the first movie, yeah, there's some dated effects in there, but the action, at least, first movie, Green Goblin, and then the second movie, it's Doc Ock. So I think it should have just been New Goblin. I think they should have made Harry go crazy, make him more Goblin-like, make him crazy, you know, make him at least not wear the mask, but have his face somewhat look like the mask. You could have done something creepy and scary, but again, because Spider-Man's a lighthearted character, but you can put some dark. I mean, I think Goblin is a dark character, and he's crazy, he's mad. You could have done a lot better with that. There was no need for Gwen Stacy in this movie. The story is just a big complete mess, and it's boring. A lot of the scenes are boring. The dancing scene. Oh my, that was terrible. I don't know who thought about that, who wrote that. Probably Raimi and the writers. His brother and Alvin Sargent, wrote that. Why did you think that was a good idea? Oh, because he's trying to be cool. And I'm like, no, it's dark. He should be yelling. He should be angry. He should be acting mean toward people. Even yelling at May. He should be mean, like he was that one scene when he yelled at his landlord. When you fix it, get you right, when you fix this damn door. I want to see more of that. Needs to be his anger coming out more. You know, he do that when he fights the guys, and it would have been cool to see some of the action with Black Suit Spider-Man. You don't get enough Spider-Man either, to be honest. You want to complain that Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 or Amazing Spider-Man 2 where you don't see enough Spider-Man? There's enough scenes of him joking and being funny. This film, he doesn't do that. In Spider-Man 2, he does that a little bit. You know, he's too quiet. And in Spider-Man 3, you don't see any action with the black suit at all. No, you don't. You see pictures of him fighting bad guys, but you don't see it. And I'm like, I want to see him fighting some criminals or something. You know, it just feels like the story, there's just too much crammed in here. There's too much going on. You were saying Amazing Spider-Man? Yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 2 has subplots too, but you know what? This film has subplots that could go nowhere. Sandman's daughter, that thing goes nowhere. The whole thing with, you know, them just, they don't know what to do with Harry. They just kill him off. It's a subplot that's a big deal, you know, of how Bernard knew that, even though he wasn't there that night. I guess he was cleaning the room later. I'm like, okay, good way to tell Harry. And I'm like, for time, you could have let him know that. Oh, I've seen things in this house I've never told anybody. I'm like, you probably should because they're your employers. You're the butler. If you see something suspicious or you know something, you should tell them. At least it'd be the right damn thing to do. Okay, those are all my negatives with the movie. My negatives. The film's boring. It sucks. It's just a boring movie. And Toby, Peter, his awful dialogue of being too much of a dork. You know, like at the carnival, just singing after Mary Jane's like, "Oh, that's my girlfriend," or just talking about being Spider-Man and him and MJ's relationship. The love story does not work. They have no chemistry, zero chemistry. I don't buy them being in love. They love each other and they don't love each other. They love each other. They love each other. They don't. It's just back and forth. It's like, come on. Why don't you two just grow the heck up and break up like regular people? Like, okay, this relationship's not working out. It's not going anywhere. Maybe in a way she should have gone for Harry, and I think Peter should have gone for Gwen because I could see a little chemistry there, but she wasn't forced in. I mean, so yeah, I think I'd buy that a lot more. I'd rather have him be in a relationship with Gwen Stacy in this movie than Mary Jane. In my opinion, they should have just killed Mary Jane off in the second movie. Yeah, maybe Peter would have lose his love. And if I think Gwen Stacy brushed out Howard, I would have bought it. Well, I would cast somebody else, but she's alright. But still, they should have had Gwen Stacy in there. So anyway, Yeah, and her being a bitch in this movie, you know exactly how to understand how I feel, right? Don't give me the horse thing, you know. I'm like, it's just bickering going on. This love story sucks. Andrew and him are much better, you know. Say what you will, but they got the love story right in those movies, and they got Spider-Man right as a character himself. Spider-Man can joke around. It's always necessary because that Spider-Man, he's a wise ass. He's always mocking and making fun of his villains. Supposed to, supposed to do that, but he does have a good heart, you know. And Spider-Man's young. He's a teenager. He's still young, you know. It should be joking around a lot more. Yeah, because it is needed a lot, especially when fighting evil villains. If he jokes around a lot more, you know, you know. And here Spider-Man's a wimp. He gets his ass kicked. He needs a black suit to fight better, and he needs Harry to help him. And I'm like, Goblin Jr. to help him out. Oh, Spidey's gonna cry. But anyway, Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man 3. This is all I can say about it. My rating for Spider-Man 3. I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give for the action scenes. For some of the cast, I do like. The rest of and the CGI is good. That's all I like about this movie. Spider-Man 3 sucks. My rating for this film, I'm gonna give it a thumbs down. And my rating for Spider-Man 3 is 1 out of 5 stars. I'm not seeing the editor's cut. I don't care. Nothing to make this film better. I ain't gonna have that anymore. But anyway, guys, stay tuned for another Marvel review. This will be another revisit review, by the way. Which I'm kind of mixed on this movie as well, but I don't remember hating it when I reviewed it on my other channel about 9 years ago. I will be doing a revisit review on Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Yeah, which is the sequel to the 2005 film. Some pictures of the movie a little bit. Yeah, time you get the Silver Surfer. Yeah, yeah, which is on double feature on Blu-ray with the first movie, and next will be Silver Surfer, Rise of Silver Surfer. So yeah, but again, fantastic, Fantastic Four: Rise of Silver Surfer. That will be the next revisit review. So stay tuned for that, guys. Hope you look forward to it. And guys, I hope you didn't take anything I said personal today. This is just my opinion. If you like Spider-Man 3, I'm not here to change your opinion. I can't do that. That is your opinion. I can't make you like Spider-Man 3. That is your opinion. If you like it and you think it's underrated, that's fine. More power to you. You know. I wouldn't get this Blu-ray though. You only get a filmmaker and cast commentaries on the movie and no Snow Patrol music video, photo galleries, and bloopers. There's not much behind the scenes of this movie, which honestly I can see why they half-assed this. This movie deserved it. Spider-Man 1 and 2 have good special features on there. I can see why, because both of them are better movies than this. Spider-Man 2 is a masterpiece, and this just tarnishes the two movies. And yeah, we could have had another Spider-Man 2 like this if Sony didn't get involved, if Raimi and his brothers Raimi, his brother, and the other writers, and his direction would have been a lot better done. I don't blame Raimi completely, but I will partially blame him because he did write the script for this movie a bit. Some of the ideas of his in this movie were thrown in this movie, so partially, yeah, some of the blame is on him as well, not just Sony, you know. But that's Spider-Man 3. Hate this film. The worst Spider-Man film in my opinion. My rating for the film once again is 1 out of 5 stars. So guys, if you let me know in the comments down below what do you think of this movie in your opinion, and if you like it, more power to you. But we agree to disagree. I hated this film. So anyway, guys, stay tuned for my revisit review for Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. I'm mixed on this too, but we'll see. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Excuse me. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Bye.